Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at El Nino for today's video, and we're going to see whether the El Nino effect that I've been talking about in a couple of videos in the last few months is actually starting to happen. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlaying my web videos at gazwebvids.com. Please play those video ads. You'll be supporting gazwebvids.com by doing that. The other thing I want to talk about is the websites that I'm using for this video. You can find all the websites. There's going to be a variety of websites and charts and different things that I use for this video. I'll talk you through it as we go along. But you can find all of the websites on my links page. Just click on the links tab at the bottom of this page, go through to the links page. You'll see all of the charts in this video, all of the websites, I should say, on my links page. You can go through to any of those websites and see all of these charts and different things that we're using for yourself. Now, if you want to know about El Nino, I should just say this. Please check out my first video. It's here on the El Nino page at gazwebvids.com. It's from the 24th of February. It's directly underneath this video. That'll explain all about El Nino, and you'll be able to have a look at that, and it'll explain what El Nino is, how it affects the world in general terms. It doesn't give you every single effect that we can see from El Nino, but it gives you the basics of what El Nino is and how it impacts the planet. So please check out the first video from the 24th of February if you want to know about El Nino, because I'm not going to have time to do it in this video. So the first chart we're going to start off with is the sea surface temperature anomaly from NOAA. Now, NOAA is the NOAA is the forecasting agency from the United States. This is their sea surface temperature anomaly chart. What we're interested in is this area here. This is Peru on the east coast of Latin America, and this area over here, if I just push this bit further up, this area here, which is in fact Indonesia. And El Nino is a warming of the equatorial Pacific along the date line from Peru, which is over here, say, to Indonesia, which is over here. And the El Nino region that we have to see warming in to get a designated El Nino is this area here, which is like the mid-equatorial Pacific on the date line. That has to warm and has to stay warm for 5 consecutive 3-monthly quarters, and if that happens, then we get an El Nino declared. So this is the current sea surface temperature, the latest sea surface temperature anomaly from NOAA. This was published earlier today. We can see from these orange and red colours that we have got warming taking place from Peru, and it's stretching out now well into the central part of the equatorial Pacific. Now, this isn't an intense warming, it's not vibrant red colours, so we're not yet seeing a really strong El Nino getting going, and in fact I don't think we will see a particularly strong El Nino from this. I think it's going to be more of a weak to moderate event, but yes, there is definitely warming taking place along this equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean. Also notice this big area of orange colours that appear around Greenland. I'll just quickly mention that we've had some very extensive blocking around the North Atlantic and across the Arctic through this summer. It's given us a dreadful summer across the British Isles, but the consequence of this has been a lot of dramatic warming around the North Atlantic and also over Greenland. We've seen a tremendous ice melt season across Greenland so far this year. This could have implications for the winter across Europe and North America. Now, I don't want to talk about this too much just yet. This is something more for September, October time. But certainly these two things, the warm waters here and the melt season that we've seen over Greenland, could well have implications for the Northern Hemisphere winter. But anyway, back to El Nino, and I want to show you now the Ulysses sea surface temperature anomaly. And again, we see that it's shown a very similar picture to the NOAA anomaly. It is showing that the warm waters are stretching up from Peru and stretching out now in towards this mid-equatorial Pacific. Notice this cool area of water here stretching from the western coast of the United States and Canada, and down here in towards the central part of the northern Pacific Ocean. We're above the date line, so it's in the northern hemisphere. But this horseshoe shape here is actually indicating the cold PDO, the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. Now, when we have this cold area here, this cold horseshoe shape, and the PDO, Pacific Decadal Oscillation, is cold, that means that the El Nino is having a fight on its hands to really get a foothold. That's probably the reason why we're not going to see a strong El Nino event this time, because in the cold PDO and strong El Ninos during a cold PDO period, it's much more unlikely. It can happen, you can still get a strong El Nino in a cold PDO period, but it's more unlikely, and it's more likely to happen in the warm PDO period, and that's more likely in the that's more like what we saw in the 80s and 90s. Actually, remember, we had some very intense El Ninos in 1983, 1991, again in 1997, and the reason for that was that, or one of the reasons was probably because we was in a warm PDO period during that time. Now, in the cold PDO period, the El Nino has a much tougher time getting going and strengthening and maintaining itself. So, having a look now at the forecast chart, see where all this is going, and this is the latest sea surface temperature anomaly forecast from JAMSTEC IOD, and we can see that for autumn, September to November, we do have quite a moderate El Nino event going on here. Virtually all regions of the Pacific have the equatorial Pacific have warmed. The warm water is stretching from Peru almost towards the eastern coast of Indonesia here. So yes, all regions are warming, and this is quite a moderate El Nino actually being forecast by the model. If we carry on through the chart, this is for December to February, and we can see that we've got a mature El Nino here. It is weakening though from what we see in the autumn period, and you would expect that because El Nino reaches its peak around Christmas, hence the name, and then it gradually starts to weaken through the second half of the northern hemisphere winter. By the time we get through to spring, well, it's virtually all gone. Well, by the time we get through to March, May, in fact, we're starting to see some cooling going on around the coast of Peru. That could be the very beginnings of the La Nina, which usually follows El Nino, particularly when you've got a cold PDO. But that's very speculative. Let's not worry about La Nina yet. Let's worry about El Nino. So, having a look at the ECMWF anomaly forecast, and this is what it's showing. We can see that we've got quite a bit of scat here. Some members of the ensemble are going for a very intense El Nino, some dipping down in towards La Nina. They're outly as though they're very unlikely, and generally the basic trend that the model is going on, the ensemble mean, is somewhere around here. I think somewhere around +1. So this is going for a weak to moderate El Nino. Certainly a strong El Nino is looking very unlikely from this anomaly forecast, but anomaly ensemble forecast I should say, but a weak to perhaps maybe borderline moderate event looks much more likely. Having a look at the CFS model, this is from NOAA, this is from the United States. This is CFS version 1, the anomaly forecast from CFS version 1, which had a stay of execution. It's still going strong and will apparently now be discontinued in October. Anyway, CFS version 1 going for a prolonged weak to borderline moderate El Nino here. There's not much warming going on from where we are now. It does go up to around 1 Celsius, and then it just bobs along around 1 Celsius throughout, and it's still there once it gets to the end of the ensemble, actually in April. So this is a very prolonged, probably, El Nino, but it's only quite weak, I say weak to borderline moderate. This is CFS version 2. It's the same idea, but this is going for a very slightly stronger El Nino. This is going more towards the moderate sort of category. 1 Celsius basically is weak to borderline moderate. Anything below 1 Celsius is going to be weak. Anything above 1 Celsius to around 1.5 is going to be moderate. Above 1.5 to 2 and then beyond 2 Celsius you're going to strong and very strong. Certainly there's no sign that we're going to get strong or very strong El Nino. So I think it is very unlikely that we're going to see a so-called mega event. There are some people that talk about a mega event El Ninos, but they're very rare, very unlikely, and particularly when you've got a cold PDO. So we're looking here at a weak to borderline or perhaps a weak to moderate El Nino event, and we can see that the event peaks somewhere around November and then starts to dip away. That's probably dipping a bit early. It'll probably be more like Christmas when it peaks, but in any case it'll dip away then as we go through to the start of next year. Having a look at the individual sea surface temperature forecast charts from CFS. This is for this month, August. We can see we're pretty much what we've seen. We're seeing pretty much what we've already seen on the NOAA and Uniseas.com sea surface temperature maps. Yes, we've got the warming from Peru. It's stretching out in towards the mid-Pacific, where we have to look at to get an El Nino designated. I'm going through the chart. September, October. Actually, October isn't there, so what we'll do is we'll go to the charts. If you just bear with me on this, it's taking me a bit by surprise. I wasn't expecting this. So this is the anomaly for October. Yes, we've got the El Nino there stretching further out in towards the central part of the Pacific. Notice it's beginning to decouple away from the coast of Peru now. That's what you expect, because the sea surface temperature runs, warm sea surface temperatures run along the date line and gradually decouple from the coast, and then going through to November. And this is probably around the peak of the El Nino, actually, or the model thinks this is going to be the peak of the El Nino. We're getting up towards moderate El Nino here in the equatorial Pacific region that we need to look at for an El Nino. And then once we get through to December, it's beginning to break up the El Nino. It's starting to weaken. I say that's probably a little bit early, a bit premature. More likely that it'll happen in January. Once we get through to January, it is very dramatically now starting to weaken. The El Nino is collapsing, if the model is correct. And beyond that, we have to start thinking about where we go next, which is probably in a cold PDO period, La Nina. So in any case, the forecast that I made on the 24th of February, which was for an El Nino, does still look like it's in play. It looks like it's happening. It's taking a long time. The atmosphere still isn't really reflecting El Nino conditions. In fact, it's really still reflecting La Nina, if anything. But as we go through the next month, 2 months till 3 months, I think we will start to see the atmosphere becoming more and more coupled towards El Nino. So if you want to see what the effects of El Nino are, check out my first video that I did on the 24th of February. But right now it still looks as though the El Nino is in play. Still looks like it's on the cards. A weak to moderate event, not a very strong event. Weak to moderate El Nino. Looks like it's happening. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.